And we also have Rotus as always. And okay, just before I do this, I have to say happy birthday to Rotus. I did say happy birthday off air, but I'm going to say it again. So happy birthday, Rotus.
Thank you, Zibby. Thank you so much. Good morning to you. Good morning to all our listeners out there. And yeah, it's good to see another year around the sun.
Yay. Awesome. We're also
Thank
streaming the
you.
show live, so you can catch the live stream up on our YouTube, and you can also see Rotus with his birthday glow up as well. So just search for us. It's Smooth981 on YouTube, and you can post a comment on there as well. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 981. So we're talking about Afrexim's complete acquisition of 5% ownership of Geregu Power.
That is correct. This took place. It was completed yesterday, and we heard about this deal a while back. And so, it's a development, maybe better development as far as our power sector is concerned, as far as the NGX is concerned. So yeah, it's a whole lot going on there. So it's good news as far as Afrexim Bank's subsidiary taking that position in a Geregu Power PLC.
All right, so there's a lot going on. Let's start with this Afrexim Bank. What does it do?
So the Afrexim Bank, which is Africa Exports Imports Bank, is trade finance, wants to provide trade finance and develop trade in Africa. And so that's their mission. They want to be able to assist in the industrialization on the African continent, and their major, point of focus is to provide finance to improve trade within Africa. And Benedict Orama, who is a Nigerian, is the head of the Afrexim Bank. So it's nice to see a Nigerian in such a, we've got Nigerians in a lot of prominent positions around the world. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala heading the World Trade Organization. And all that other Nigerians in other prominent positions. So it's Professor Benedict Orama is the head of the Afrexim Bank, and so there you go.
Interesting. So, what is FEDA, and what is its relationship to the Afrexim Bank?
Yeah, so it's the impact investment arm of the Afrexim Bank, and it's the fund for FEDA, Fund for Exports Development in Africa. That's what it stands for. And they're essentially, on the same mission to improve trade. I know back in September of last year, they announced, I think it was a $670 million fund, which was going to be broken down into four. I think about 250 million was going to go towards providing equity for African businesses, another 7,500 million for venture capital. So essentially what they do is the Afrexim Bank channels money through funds through the FEDA in order to develop trade. It's still on the trade focus and assisting companies, across the continent in order for them to be able to boost their trade.
Right. So let's talk about Geregu Power. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So they're a Genco, a power generation company. They listed on the NGX in October. I think it was October of last year. The first, and they made history by being the first power generation company to list on the NGX, on the Nigerian stock exchange. And of course, they are chaired by the billionaire Femi Otedola, who used to run Forte Oil, which is now Ardova. He sold his majority stake in Ardova and then said he was going to hop into the power generation sector. And look, that is, when you talk about power, it's a sector that it has its issues. So it's real brave for him to jump in there and say that that's where he wants to focus his energy. So yeah, Geregu is they're in that sector, power generation, and those are the three players in this bit of news.
All right. So when did we first hear about this deal?
I think it was December. Of last year. The Afrexim Bank made the announcement that they would take this, I think, a 5% stake, this minority stake in Geregu through FEDA, subject to approvals, board approvals and so on and so forth. So yeah, it was I think it was December, I think, of last year that we first heard about this deal. And so and it's major because I think this becomes one of the first major investments in a listed major foreign investment in a listed company on the NGX. But it was December. It was around December that we heard of this.
Right. Okay. And let's talk about how this deal was completed.
Yeah, so it was through the shares, about how many shares now? 125 million units in an off-market trade that was completed on yesterday. I think the seller was Pact Securities was the seller of those shares, and then APT Securities was the buyer. So what happens is funds acting on behalf of the parties completed the trade. So essentially, through those funds, FEDA purchased those units, about 125 million of them, of Geregu shares on the exchange ahead. So that's how they take. I mean, it's like any other. If you buy stock in any company, you are now, a shareholder. You own shares. So that's exactly. So it was completed yesterday on the NGX.
Well, this is Business Express on the Smooth Breakfast. It's Zibby here and Rotus as well. Let us know what you think about this deal. The WhatsApp number to send your messages to is 0809 4440981, or just tweet at Smooth981. Coming back to this deal, I have to ask, so what is the significance of this?
Well, it's pretty significant. I mean, again, one of the first major foreign investments that we're seeing in a publicly listed company. I think this will fall under, for a portfolio investment. When we talk about, investments, you got foreign direct investment, you've got portfolio investment. Portfolio investments basically come through the NGX when you talk about investing in securities owned by companies. And hopefully it sends a signal to other foreign investors that, hey, look, there are companies in Nigeria that have, a very potential for trying to develop the nation. I know that our power sector has a low number of issues. So if you are forward thinking and you say, okay, down the line, things will improve, it's companies like Geregu and what they're doing as far as their mandates to try to generate power in the country, and foreign, entities, multilateral entities, like the Afrexim Bank and FEDA, making that investment in them should send a positive signal to the market and also to other investors as well.
All right, Rotus. I want you to give me a very honest answer. How would you describe Nigeria's power sector right now?
Yeah, so the Nigeria's power sector, it has its issues, Zibby. It's although it's funny, interesting with all this election talk, power hasn't really. Remember all the grid collapses and gas shortages ahead. So our power sector has issues, and which is why we need more, Geregu's making these investments. We need more, Afrexim Bank, investments in that sector through these publicly listed companies. Our power sector is troubled. We need an overhaul of the infrastructure. I think the particular issue is that the transmission company of Nigeria, whether it needs to be broken into pieces or privatized, some of the candidates that are running for office have talked about it, all their plans for power. You need 24/7 power. You don't, as I'm talking to you now, either your power could go off or mine could go off, right? Look at what's happening in South Africa now, where as a Nigerian looking at what's happening, they're acting like the world is falling because they don't have power. They've had blackouts. Everybody's complaining. I was sitting here like, you're just going through this now.
Wow. Power is essential. All our lives.
Exactly. Very essential.
Oh wow. All right. So is power the key to our development, though?
I think it is, though. When you think, some will say that corruption is the main thing that needs to be attacked in Nigeria. Others will say maybe it's poverty. There's just so many. But I think, Zibby, if you solve power, you might even see an immediate drop in crime, right? Because, when you have 24/7 power and you don't have to worry about that, then you start thinking about other things. You start, when we talked about Tech Friday and that butter machine that I saw in Switzerland, where you push a button and butter falls out. Why would it? The person they had lights and they were just sitting around and like, why don't I invent this thing? So I don't know. I would argue. I know corruption is right up there. I know there's so many other issues, but I think you solve power in Nigeria, and you have an immediate jump in GDP and development. So much could happen.
All right. Is there hope that the new administration would actually make strides in the power sector?
There is, Zibby, but the question is how soon? Power is a very capital-intensive sector. It costs a lot of money if you think about what Geregu and all these other players are doing. It's so expensive. And Zibby, my fear is that people might ask for too much too quick, where they expect things to be turned around. So I just want the candidates to be honest with us. You come into power and say, hey, look, this is the situation with our power sector. And you obviously have, a minister and so on and a cabinet. And they should just be straight with us. If you're going to say that, okay, it will take 4 years for us to see improvements in power, then just say it. So don't say by next year, you have 24/7 power or stuff like that. So I hope that they are honest with us. I hope that they just tell us the truth. And immediately they have to hit the ground running. And power has to be one of the main things that they focus on as they come get into office. You gotta address the power. I know some of them are addressing insecurity, so that's part of it as well. Again, so much, but I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic, but I'm also patient as well.
Now, with regards to the upcoming elections, I'm curious about this. What is, in your opinion, the most crucial thing that needs to be fixed?
So I mean, as far as the election itself,
yes,
or I mean,
yes.
Like
with regards to the election.
I think it's safety. I have been a huge advocate for. I know this might sound a little nuts. I want us to vote by phone, but I know that the Constitution doesn't allow for that. Our network issues don't allow for that. Not everybody in Nigeria has a smartphone. But the day we can vote electronically and not have to worry about going to a polling booth and having thugs disrupt the process, because a lot of people, there are people who might stay home because they are worried. Now, I do know this. President Buhari wants to leave office on a high. He wants to keep his legacy intact. So from what I'm hearing, he is beefing up security in a major way. Like, nobody wants to mess with a former military general. So I understand that he's really going to, it's either you boost security or, so that I think is what he's going to do. So hopefully we will have a safe election, but that's number one. Everybody just wants to go vote safely. Hopefully there's no network issues. BVAS works. Everything is counted. And by Monday, we know who our new president is. I don't want a runoff, please, for the love of Zeus, no runoff. Let it just end. Let it just end once and for all. Let's know the winner and let's move on with our lives,
Yes, indeed. I've got some messages coming through. Yinka says it's like bank transfers are gradually overtaking power as our biggest headache. Transferred money from one customer bank to the other, and since yesterday morning, I'm yet to get it. Gilbert Musa says, happy birthday, Rotus. More grace to you. On the African Export and Import Bank, I'm skeptical about its progress on the African continent from 2006 till date. Reason, trade between African nations till date is still low, not more than 10%. We still depend largely on food imports, among other trade items. And Joel says, happy birthday, Rotus. Today's my birthday too. Yay!
Hey, happy birthday, Joel. All right, nice. Another February baby.
Yeah.
Great point. Look, just real quick, Yinka, your point is well noted. I will share something. I'll share a funny video with you, some skits that people were making using the names of the banks. It's been gotten pretty bad, but then I think it's network issues. And Gilbert does make a strong point. We need to boost African trade, so it's something that needs to be worked on.
Awesome. Well, that's all the time that we have for Business Express. Thank you so much, Rotus. Happy birthday again. And we'll be waiting for the slices of cake.
Thank you. I'll send you guys something at the office. Don't worry. Thank you so much.
No problem. Have a brilliant day ahead. Do stay with us. There is a lot more to come.